Thank you everyone for returning to our event today. We have yet another phenomenal speaker, and her name is Lenka Kaloma. She's from Czechoslovakia. Not that long in this country, and she's going to tell her story. She does a lot of things. She has a Right to Breathe agency, which is doing amazing work, which we're definitely going to talk about today. She also has an organization that is named Become Supernatural, basically, right? That's what your goal is.
It's called Lenka Kaloma Method, and the program is called Unleash the Supernatural. Yes.
Yes, and become more than what you ever thought you could be, right? And develop your full potential, body, spirit, mind, and every aspect of being a human being. And so she does that work. She got into that work and had been doing that work when the pandemic struck, right? And then when the pandemic struck, then you kind of changed gears because of the conditions and of what you saw. And that goes back to what happened in Czechoslovakia. So tell us about, your story in terms of coming here from Czechoslovakia, and what was that?
Well, first of all, thank you, Clyde, so much for having me on your program. It's such a privilege and honor. Yes, so I was born and raised in Czechoslovakia, and that's all I knew. And then one day I met this gentleman from America, and he told me about this land where you can build a career, have a job, buy a house, buy a car, have all this freedom. And it was almost like he portrayed heaven to me. And so in that moment, I knew that I will one day go to that land and experience this American dream. So I escaped communist Czechoslovakia 30 years ago. I came to America after a long struggle to come here because, the immigration process is not easy at all. It's long, lengthy, it's very expensive process, but I came to America 30 years ago. I became naturalized American citizen. So it's very actually important to mention that I had to take an oath. I had to take an oath that I will uphold and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is why the Constitution is so dear to my heart. But 30 years ago, when I came here, I was super excited to come to America and start building my career. I became very successful entrepreneur and corporate executive. And I'm truly walking and talking example of the American dream, that you can come to this land with literally nothing. I had $10 to my name. I had no credit cards, no friends.
How old were you?
I was 19.
Wow.
I was 19. I came by myself. And I remember it was funny because a lot of people were looking at me, well, like, how do you want to make it here? And I came as a nanny. So I was nanny at the beginning. And I just knew that if you work hard and you are dedicated and you put effort into something, you can accomplish a lot. And so that's exactly what I did. I got into a high-tech field, and I worked myself pretty much from secretary into becoming vice president of Fortune 500 companies, traveling the world, you name it. But very quickly, I started to feel something very familiar that I actually escaped. And so I started to look into our education system, into our food supply, into our governmental system, into our healthcare system and everything. And I started to recognize that we have big problems in this country. And it was like entering this rabbit hole. And the deeper I was going, the more I was discovering. It was literally like peeling an onion. You peel off one layer, and there is another one, and there is another one, and yet another one. And I started to discover, oh my, we have pretty deep corruption and level of deceit on our hands. And so I wanted to tell everyone, and we are talking some 20 years ago, but everyone was looking at me like I came from a different planet. Life was good in America. No one could really see it. So I was labeled conspiracy theorist, anti-American. People were very upset with me. They wanted me to go back to where I came from. So I had to zip it. I had to zip it, which was extremely excruciating actually process for me, because I knew how people are being lied and deceived, and yet no one could truly see it. So for 20 years I had to remain silent. But then when actually when 9/11 hit, I was hoping, okay, now is it the time now to wake up, America? No, it wasn't really. So we went back to sleep. And then when COVID-19 came about, I knew that this is the time.
Yeah.
And so that's also where I started our nonprofit organization called Freedom to Breathe Agency, FTBA,
Right.
which you can really consider it's the constitutional law enforcement kind of team, where we are teaching people their constitutional rights. We are helping them to overcome the oppression and tyranny they are experiencing. We are working with our sheriffs. We are working with the society and our citizens to really help them to break through this tyranny and everything we
Right.
are going on through this whole pandemic.
Right. And the sheriff is really key, isn't it? Because the sheriff
Yes.
can do what Sheriff Jesse Watt, who I just interviewed last night, and he read me into our audience. He read the 4-page pages that he had statement that he made to his board of supervisors
Yes.
in the county, stating that he was not going to follow any of the mandates of the governor, that he was going to protect the constitutional rights of his citizens, that is what he saw his job as, because he was elected by them. And his role as sheriff, as the supreme law enforcement officer of the county, is to enforce the constitutional rights of his citizens. And so that
Right.
anything the governor said, that was illegal or unconstitutional was not going to happen in his county. Any OSHA or any other agency, state or federal, that tried to come in and say people had to wear masks or shut down their restaurants, he would protect them. And the supervisors passed it unanimously. And his county is a no lockdown, no mask, no COVID anything county. And the people are very happy there, and they're going on with their lives as normal free Americans should be going on with their lives, unrestricted in any way. And that's the sheriff. That's the power of the sheriff. That's an
That's right.
example, right? That's the example we want.
Yes, yes. Sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer in every county. And we have to remember that he is elected by we the people, and we pay them very nice salary to make sure that they are basically helping us to secure our freedom and personal liberty. So there is no governmental overreach. So what's happening across America, and especially here in Southern California for us here, is that the corporation are using the coercion, intimidation by imposing these unlawful and criminal mandates that are coming from the governor, which are completely unconstitutional. Governor does not have the legislative power to create a law, so they are confusing and bamboozling the public into making them believe that there is such thing as a mask law, as a social distancing, as isolation,
Right.
as lockdowns. None of that is true.
Yeah, those are edicts, those are mandates, they're not law. The legislature of the states have not passed any laws on these things. And so
That's right.
these are things that are
Never will.
totally, yeah,
And Clyde never will. You know why? Because it's repugnant to the Constitution, which
right,
is the supreme law of the land. We have
right.
to remember that the Constitution guarantees our right to life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness. So what is property? It's not only our home, but also our body. So no one has jurisdiction over our body to tell us what to do, what to wear, where to stand, how to behave. None of that. This is our responsibility. Health is our responsibility, not the government. The government's job is to ensure that we have the freedom and personal liberty
Mhm.
to pursue.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting to hear you talk and the enthusiasm you have for our Constitution, and you weren't born here. And I think when you're born here, like I was, and most of the people listening right now, we never had to take an oath to the Constitution. We just assume that we're going to have the same freedoms and the same, amount of prosperity and everything that our generations before us have had. And that's just not true. It's
No.
not true. Every generation has to fight for that freedom and to make sure that it's maintained, so that their future generations don't lose it. And so that's what's happening right now. This is it. We are in
This
that battle.
This
Don't
is
you
it,
agree?
guys, and I want everyone to know that we are at very important crossroads, because these
Right.
globalists that are trying to take over our bodies, our spirit, to turn us into literally their subjects, their slaves. Well, that already kind of happened, but now it's in a physical form, physical enslavement. It's actually through mind control that people are enslaving themselves voluntarily. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is for me to see people driving by themselves in a car wearing a muzzle. And that's what it is. It's a muzzle. It's a psychological tool of oppression and stripping people of their identity, of their personality, of their freedom to speak. And these people are voluntarily enslaving themselves, thinking that it's for the greater of us, of the good of us all, which is absolutely insane. Or people jogging in a park, people working out wearing these muzzles. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And people lining up like the obedient peasants they are in front of stores on stickers. Yet you can sit on a plane next to each other and it's fine.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we are waking America up and bringing truth back to them, bringing law and showing them what this government has been doing for the past 200 plus years, literally stripping us of our freedoms and personal liberty. And now we are at the very edge of it, Now is really fight for our country, for our republic, that we have to activate again.
Right. So
Because
let's start with telling people what you do when you go into you and your group. You go in with other people a lot of times, right? And you go into a store, and how do you engage? What's the conversation like, and how does that work?
okay, so I've been doing it since pretty much it started, the masking mandates. And in California, it's bad. It's really, really bad. We have literally mask Nazis, and that's what they are. These store workers and managers, it's like a newly gained power they have over the people to boss them around. So when I walk into the store, first of all, I greet everyone, and they approach me and they tell me, ma'am, you have to wear a mask. And I tell them, no, I don't, but thank you so much. And I proceed, but they go after me, right? They go after me because it's the law. You cannot imagine how many times I've been told that the mask is the law. So I always ask them, please show me the law. Tell me the law. Tell me the number. Show me the law. But the latest strategy, which is the most powerful, is because you have to remember, here in California, we have incidents where mothers go shopping without being muzzled and they get arrested for exercising their constitutional rights, because our law enforcement is not educated on the law. They are educated on edicts, codes, and statutes, which many times are repugnant to the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. And unfortunately, it's done on purpose. I hate to say it, but it's done on purpose, because we have to remember we are dealing with system that is not to protect our freedoms and our rights, but to protect the ruling class.
Right. Exactly. So how does that end up working in the stores?